Welcome to your daily briefing for Monday, March 30th, 2026, sponsored by bestai.org.
Today marks a real watershed moment. What we're seeing is the entire global AI ecosystem shifting, moving away from years of speculative growth and into a new phase of serious industrial consolidation.
We're tracking 5 critical stories today that really show you how this transformation is taking shape across the globe. And we're going to start right at the very foundation of this new industrial age.
So, our first story is all about the hardware. Nvidia has just officially pulled the curtain back on the next generation of accelerated computing, and it's poised to completely rewrite the economic equation for intelligence itself. So what you're seeing here is the Rubin platform, and you've got to understand this isn't just a single chip, it's a whole vertically integrated system. It's specifically designed to power the absolute frontier of what's being called agentic AI. And that's a fancy way of saying systems that can actually reason and act on their own. Okay, so what's the actual upshot of a design like this? A tenfold reduction in the cost of AI reasoning. Now that is a game changer, because it demolishes the main economic barrier that's been holding back the deployment of autonomous AI agents. Agents that can perform real, useful work out in the world.
The scale we're talking about here is just immense. So immense, in fact, that compute is now literally moving into orbit with Nvidia's Space One module. But it's not just happening up in space. Back on the ground, the consolidation is picking up speed. We're seeing Microsoft take direct control of an OpenAI data center project down in Texas. This is all part of a new global race for what you might call sovereign compute capacity.
This new industrial age is forcing the industry's biggest players to make some really tough strategic pivots. We're seeing a shift away from flashy research experiments and a hard turn toward revenue. OpenAI is the perfect example. Despite a massive new valuation of $730 billion, the company is shifting its focus entirely to revenue. Their compute spending forecasts have been slashed, and the new priority is all about enterprise tools and advertising. And the first major casualty of this pivot? The Sora video platform. With an estimated operating cost of $15 million a day, it has been shut down. The message is loud and clear. The era of subsidizing these incredibly expensive creative experiments is officially over. Meanwhile, Anthropic is facing a full-blown national security crisis. The Pentagon has given the company a hard deadline, this Friday, 5 p.m., to remove safeguards that prevent its AI from being used for autonomous targeting. If they refuse, they'll be barred from all federal contracts. This is a stark, head-on collision between AI safety culture and military imperatives.
And while that's all happening, a huge legal battle is reaching its final chapter. Today is the absolute deadline for authors to file a claim in the Bartz versus Anthropic settlement. This is a landmark case because it's effectively putting a price tag on training data, and that's pushing the entire industry toward a licensed content model.
Now, this industrialization isn't just a Silicon Valley story. Not at all. We're actually seeing a new global map of AI power being drawn, and Asia is emerging as a major infrastructure frontrunner. Just today in Hong Kong, China Mobile launched its Global Intelligence Center, which is this massive new hub for large-scale models. But this isn't just about building infrastructure, it's about market validation. We just saw the very first medical imaging AI company, Diogen's Biotechnology, go public on the Hong Kong exchange. And the market's response was, well, definitive. Diogen's stock surged 121% on its first day. What this shows us is a huge investor appetite, not for general-purpose AI, but for what's known as vertical AI. These are specialized systems that solve very specific, high-value problems in fields like healthcare. The geopolitical consequences of all this are also becoming crystal clear. The ongoing conflict in the Middle East is a perfect example of how inexpensive autonomous systems are challenging traditional military dominance. We're talking about drones that cost around $25,000, successfully damaging high-value assets like a multi-million-dollar AWACS plane. And this brings us right to our next story. As this new industry solidifies, a huge battle is raging over who gets to write the rules and who bears the responsibility when things go wrong. So here in the United States, the federal government is trying to preempt that messy patchwork of different state-level AI regulations. A new executive order is directing the Justice Department to challenge laws like the Colorado AI Act. The end goal here? To create a single, national standard for the entire industry to operate under. But even as the government tries to provide some regulatory certainty, the courts are creating entirely new legal threats. A jury in Los Angeles just found Meta 70% responsible in a social media addiction case. That is a landmark verdict.
Now, the crucial point to understand here is the fundamental shift in legal strategy. Platforms are no longer just being sued for the content they host. Now they're being sued for the very design of their AI-driven engagement algorithms. This completely reframes the issue as one of product liability, which frankly could make their entire business model legally untenable.
So from new silicon being born in labs, to new data centers orbiting the Earth, to new laws being hammered out in Washington, all of today's stories really point to one conclusion. The industrial age of AI has truly begun. And that leaves us all with a critical question for the future. As intelligence becomes an industrial commodity, who is going to own the means of production?